Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I would love to introduce to you my latest obsession. Take two, my latest obsession. And no, I'm not talking about the Michigan Wolverines. That has been a lifelong obsession. I'm talking about epoxy, and more specifically, these multicolor signs. Because I'm a genius, I figured out that epoxy is a liquid and it's going to act just like a liquid does. Once you carve your project and you set it down on your work surface, you're going to pour your epoxy into that carving. Now, if your project is not on a flat level surface, the epoxy is going to run and it's going to pool to one side or the other. And if you have too much epoxy in there, it could run over onto the top of your work surface, possibly drip down the side, and lead to all kinds of extra cleanup that you don't want to have to do. Besides that, we all know epoxy is very expensive because it is mined by the dozers down in Fraggle Rock, so let's not waste it. So now that we've established our project needs to be on a flat level surface, the easiest place to look is the workbench. When I built this workbench, I made sure it was level front to back as well as left to right, so I can set my epoxy projects on here without any kind of a problem, and I know I'll get a good final result. If I'm doing a one color or a 1 day pour of the epoxy, it's not that big of a deal. I can set it on here and I can sacrifice this area for 1 day.
Sacrifice.
But to do a sign like this is 3 different colors, so this takes actually 4 days to carve. So locking up my workbench in this very tiny shop for 4 days is just not going to work. I mean, I can stand up just like this and I can touch both ends of my workshop. That's how small it is. So since I don't want to tie my workbench up for any extended period of time, that leaves me a couple options out here in the shop. First option would be to set the project down on another piece of equipment, but I don't really want to do that either. I don't want to have a piece of equipment like the drill press, the bandsaw, or anything like that tied up for any extended period of time. The only other option would be to set it off in one of the 4 corners, but that's not going to work either, guys. I have one word for you: spiders.
I'm scared of spiders, Coach.
Now, I could call my wife out here. She could come out here, belittle me, kill all the spiders, and then I could set the project off into the corner. But then I would just start working just like I normally do. I would start cutting with the miter saw, start making dust on the table saw, and knowing myself, I always forget to turn the dust collector on or the remote's across the shop, or I figure, it's just one cut, not a big deal. But when you're making those cuts, all that sawdust is going to go up into the air and it's going to settle down on your project, even if it is off in one of the corners, and it's going to ruin it. So that's not going to work either. The third problem with pouring these multi-day signs is seasonal. As you can see, it is really cold out here, and just like myself, epoxy does not like the cold. So doing a multi-stage, multi-day epoxy sign and setting it on this workbench is just not going to work. I need to find a better spot. So that brings us down to the basement. You can see behind me I have my workstation, and in front of me I have this desk. Now, I don't know if they had levels back in the 50s, or maybe the journeyman wanted to give the apprentice his first shot at screening the concrete down here. Maybe it was Friday at 5 o'clock quitting time. I don't know, but there is not a level section of concrete in this basement. So even though this desk is level,
I love desk.
If you put a level desk on an unlevel floor, your desk now becomes unlevel. So what I was doing in the past was setting my project down on this table like this, and then I was just taking popsicle sticks or shims or balled up pieces of paper towel, whatever I needed to try to get this just right. And I would shim this according, I would set my level across the top of that, and this is how I was going to do my project. And that was fine, again, if you do a one color or a 1 stage pour. But as soon as you get into taking this off multiple times, setting it on there multiple times, and trying to get the exact same placement each and every time, that is tedious, that is time consuming, and it's unrepeatable. You can see as soon as you lift this up, there go your popsicle sticks, all your shims, and now you got to start over. I am a problem solver by nature. It's what I do. So setting my projects down on this desk, shimming it and hoping to get it right was just not going to work for me. So enter my solution. I know what you're thinking, Steve. That is just a panel of wood.
Panel.
But I assure you, it is so much more than that. All right, it's not so much more than that. It's a little bit more than just that, but that little bit is where all the magic happens. I recessed some T-bolts from the top side through the bottom, locked them down with some washers and some block nuts, and then I just cut these star knobs here. I'll leave a link to that video up here. You can cut some of these yourself. And because this only has 3 legs, it can't wobble.
Yes, science.
So no matter what surface you put this down on, you can take those star knobs, run them up and down, and you can run 2 at the same time in opposite directions. And now you are leveling this panel in 2 different planes at the same time, which makes leveling this out super easy and very repeatable. So now that you have a nice flat work surface, you can set your project on there, pour your epoxy, wait your time, take it back out, carve it, set it back on here, do your second color, pull it off. You can do this infinite amount of times, and this is always going to stay exactly how you want it. If you do happen to bump it, or you do happen to move it, or it's not sitting in the exact same spot it was before, you just throw your level on there, do a couple of fine minor adjustments there, and now you're back in business.
I'm back in business, baby.
So now that I've made pouring these multicolor signs easier and it's less of a headache, it's a lot more fun, and I know I'll be doing a lot more of these in the future.